Mark Rogers TV breaking down positional units across the country. We go to Miami with Cam Underwood, State of the U, to look at special teams at the U, and definitely check out our other segments because we pretty much knocked out the entire team for 2017. All right, Cam, Michael Batchley, one of the best in the business, one of the best at the school, 81% kicker over his career coming into this senior season. So you got to feel good when the game's on the line.
Yeah, Badgley is good. He's money, so there's comfort in a known quantity at kicker because we know that, kicking game is something that can be a challenge for a lot of teams. You have the hashtag college kickers where, a college team plays for a kick to win a game and you think, oh, this is nice and easy. And then all of a sudden, wide left, shout out to Florida State. How you guys doing? Or wide right, either way. So you miss a kick that you think is going to be really good. That was fun for me. I really enjoyed that. But yeah,
I did too, and I don't even root for either one, but it's just fun.
It's always good to get a dig at the rival, from the other part of the state. But yeah, so being serious though, it's really a good thing to have a kicker who is consistent, and that is what Badgley is. He's, like you said, 81, almost 82% for his career. He's going to be a senior this year, so that's who's going to handle all the kicking duties, injury aside. So we're going to hope that he stays healthy. We have another kicker who's a walk-on, Diego Marquez. He came from a JUCO last year. He's also a senior along with Badgley. He hasn't kicked in a game, I don't think yet, so maybe in a blowout or maybe a couple kickoffs or something, but Badgley's leg improved its strength he improved his kicking strength, I should say, over the course of his career. So while Justin Vogel, our previous punter, used to do kickoffs and things last year, Badgley took those over. And there was another guy, Jonathan Semerine, who had a big leg, but he would routinely kick one out of bounds at the worst time in 2015. So he moved on. He was kicked off the team, and Badgley took over for a kickoff. So, yeah, he's going to be our pretty much all-purpose kicker unless, again, one of these guys is just booing him out of the end zone on kickoff. So, yeah, I expect another, 85, 90% field goal conversion rate out of Badgley, which is going to be a great thing. Marquez maybe on kickoffs or a couple of field goal attempts as a senior, as a kind of thanks for coming to the program, being a depth player in our program kind of a thing. But, yes, insofar as kicking goes, it's Michael Badgley is the guy as a senior.
So the kicker's back, but the punter's gone. Justin Vogel, pretty solid 43.8 last season. Do you have any idea who's going to fill his shoes?
Yeah, we have another. Well, Vogel was a transfer from the University of Florida, so he made a great choice to leave that terrible institution. And in a similar fashion, Jack Spicer did the same. He's a redshirt sophomore who will be competing to be the starting punter this upcoming season. Supposedly has a big leg, obviously, being behind Vogel, who's going to be an NFL punter for some seasons. He didn't really have any experience in games, but Spicer, by all reports, is good, and he developed in his year on the bench kind of behind Vogel. So hopefully he comes in and is able to do a great job for us. If not, we have a freshman incoming who is Zach Fiegels, son of Jeff Fiegels, who was a Miami alum and 22-year NFL punter. So he has a legacy in, that being a Miami Hurricane and also in the world of punting. So he will come in and try to compete for that spot, which, is a place where freshmen could play, as a kicker or punter in this case. But, yeah, two good options with Spicer and Fiegels coming in. So hopefully one of those guys is able just to come in and really boom some moonshots and flip the field position. And shout out to Coach Todd Hartley, tight ends coach who was the special teams coordinator, who's done a really, really good job here over the course of, only one season in Miami. But, he's done a good job developing these guys. Special teams is a place where, teams can lose games, and Miami has been solid in that. So, got to give them a shout out for the player development and everything. But, kicking is just one part of special teams, but it is the third part of a complete team, offense, defense, and special teams, which is what people say. So, yeah, that hopefully either Spicer or Fiegels shores up their part of the special teams unit.
So that sets us up at punter, but in terms of the punt return game, we got Malcolm Lewis, who caught 3 touchdowns as a receiver, but in terms of bringing him back down the field to get to the end zone. But he was the main guy for you last year, but he's gone. Who are the candidates?
Yeah, for me, Braxton Berrios had a couple punt returns over the course of his career. He was the #1 punt returner, I believe, for the majority of his time here in Miami. But he's somebody who does a lot of fair catches. So if you're looking for numbers, and I see you like looking over your screen real quick, you might see a dearth of returns because discretion being the better part of valor. Berrios thinks, okay, hey, you don't really have a spot. Fair catch, cool. Almost had a punt return touchdown against Florida State. Really nice return where he was going one way, stuck a foot in the ground, and cut up field before the would have been tying touchdown. But we're not going to talk about that. So he's somebody who's a senior who could be the punt returner. Miami also brought in a couple of guys in the 2017 recruiting class who are very, very, very speedy. That would be Mike Harley from St. Thomas Aquinas and Jeff Thomas from East St. Louis, Illinois. Also DJ Dallas from Glenn Academy in Brunswick, Georgia. But really, I'm looking at Harley and Thomas overall in the return game, both punting and kick returns. Those guys are just electric. You put them in space, give them a little crease, and they're going to go. You see, Harley running away from guys. Bishop Gorman, they played. Bingham, Utah, who was undefeated at 15-0. They played in the postseason celebration game. And the Bingham, Utah defenders, they didn't lose a game. They're a very, very good high school team. And he just ran by them. Jeff Thomas, Under Armour All-American game. Everybody's seen the highlights now. 44-yard touchdown, 79-yard touchdown, 52-yard kickoff return. He ended up getting caught around midfield. But that kid is electric, both of those guys. And they're fearless, So whereas Berrios might be a little bit of the safe play because, you're going to secure the ball. Maybe you're going to get the fair catches. Thomas and Harley, if they get a crease, they could be gone. A lot of people are comparing Jeff Thomas to Devin Hester, which is high praise in the area of returns, because Devin Hester being arguably the best kick returner in the history of the NFL, a legend when he was here at Miami. You can go look up the YouTube highlights for all the, kind of returns that he had. If either of those guys is even half the returner that Devin Hester was, that's a major upgrade for Miami. So for me, I'm really looking at Jeff Thomas from East St. Louis, Mike Harley from Fort Lauderdale, St. Thomas Aquinas. And then if anybody else is able to step up on that same kind of level, awesome. But those two guys, I want to see them as the pair back there returning kicks on kickoffs and as one of those guys on punts all year long, period. Set it and forget it. Let's go.
Did you play baseball, Cam?
Did I? Of course I did.
Okay. Just making sure you hit the curve there and you smacked it into the alley for a double because I flipped the script on you. Malcolm Lewis, of course, the kickoff return guy, and I had a bit of a typo in the mouth there. Malcolm Lewis, of course, kickoff return guy. Braxton Berrios brought one back in the punt return game against Florida A&M in the first game of the season. Didn't necessarily need that one, but he did, for the record, bring one back all the way. So you feel good about coverage units, everything else going on? Like you said, you were extremely solid last year.
Yeah, and this is the first time that I hit a curveball. That was the sticking point in my baseball career, but pleased to do that here tonight. Yeah, in the coverage units, I think that we're just going to continue to be good. We're upgrading the level of athleticism on the team. You're playing a lot of starters on coverage units. Mark Walton has had several big tackles on kickoff returns, even in the Russell Athletic Bowl against West Virginia. After I think it was Amon Richards' touchdown to open the scoring for Miami, the next kickoff, you saw this huge hit, and you're like, wait, that's number one. That's our starting running back down here covering kicks. So I think that we're still going to, be in that same kind of a place. We're not really going to give up too much in the return game. Hopefully everybody stays in their lanes. You're disciplined and fast. You kind of have to run down like your hair is on fire. And I say that kind of facetiously because, bald life. Run down really fast and just be physical. So, we're upgrading the kind of athletes we have on this team, put a lot of starters on special teams. I don't think that Walton is a second-year starting running back as a junior is going to be on coverage, but what's his name? Travis Homer, backup running back. He's a kid who was also really, really good on kick coverage. And he, as a backup running back, probably will be, there again. People were seeing him tackle so well that they were thinking about having him convert to cornerback because there was a dearth of numbers at defensive back. But the kid is going to be really good at running back. So, yeah, just across the board, you're going to put some of these guys, even the Harleys, the Thomases, the DJ Dallases of the world. You got Trajan Bandy, who's a signee at defensive back. You could have one of the starting linebackers, maybe Robert Knowles, Malik Young, Romeo Finley, just looking around this roster. So there's plenty of numbers of guys who, are very athletic, very fast, and very strong. So, as long as they do their job, and again, I trust Todd Hartley as the defensive coach, special teams coordinator as a tight ends coach, to be able to coach these guys up and continue to do a good job on coverage. I think that Miami is going to be solid there as well.
We don't forget special teams here at Mark Rogers TV, and we bring on Cam Underwood, State of the U, to break down the Canes at every positional unit. So if you've missed anyone, any of the positional unit breakdowns, you join me at markrogerstv.com or at State of the U, where you can read about it as well. All right, Cam, we appreciate it as always.
Yeah, these are fun. So that should get guys caught up heading into spring ball, which is going to start in about 2 weeks. And then we will have, some recaps up on the website. Also, basketball is about to be in the NCAA tournament. So that announcement tomorrow. So be sure you stick with us for that. Baseball coverage as well. There's just a lot of great Hurricane stuff. So stateoftheu.com. That's your home for everything Hurricanes. And we'll see you next time.